Alright, so we're back to stage 3 of the Gateway Cup in St. Louis on Labor Day weekend. This is Sunday. This is the most crowds of all 4 days that we saw. This is in a little Italian section of St. Louis, just past the start-finish line. This course was a rectangle, but we are on the downhill section right now. It was uphill on the backside, so we're coming into a slightly downhill turn here. Kind of levels off right here, and then we turn left, and then we go up the hill. And this race was full gas the whole way. I think we averaged 27 miles an hour for the entire race with a hill. So as soon as you come out of the corner, you start going uphill, and then it kind of levels off right here just a little bit, and then as you can see up ahead, there's a pretty good hill that you need to get up and over. I'm kind of trying to move back to the front here. There was a breakaway that slipped away. Unfortunately, one of the big hitters from the 50 plus made the break, which is Scott Montanga. He was up there with Sharon Smith, Barry Rowland, Mike Hagney. Yeah, I can't remember who else was up there, but they were all the. There's Warwick Spence to my right. He's also one of the strong racers. So this is the top of the hill. It was a very narrow hill, so you wanted to make sure definitely that you were in a good position. And then it kind of starts to go downhill. Pretty much from this point on, it's all downhill to the finish line. And this is the finishing turn here. We almost caught the break at one point. The field was very motivated to catch them. There was some strong riders that had teammates in the break that were definitely not helping. Emil Abraham did not make the break. Rob White did not make the break. But since they were both also going for the 40 plus Gateway Cup, they were definitely watching each other. So they were more interested in the Gateway Cup results than, the Masters Cup, which was the overall for the big races, which had a much bigger payout than this race. So I think they were more keen to watch each other for that race. But Bart and I were definitely bummed that Scott got ahead of us in that. So this is his course. He does well in this course every year. Anything with a hill in it, that's Scott's specialty. I was actually feeling really good in this race, and I wasn't quite sure where Bart was. I was hoping he was there with us. I hadn't seen him much, so I just wanted to stay to the front as much as possible. And you can see guys are getting shelled on the hill. Guy in the black shorts in front of me, all weekend, he was definitely strong enough to stay near the front, but his bike handling skills, especially on tomorrow's race, just tended to get in the way a lot. That's Rob White in front of me. He had crashed earlier, pretty bad crash too. Somebody touched wheels in front of him and went down, and he went right into the back of him. There's really nothing he could do. So we're getting down into the last few laps. Since there was I believe 6 riders up the road. We were actually all sprinting for 7th, but for the pack sprint, we were sprinting for 2nd and 3rd. So we just had to make sure that there was no other 50-plus guys that got in front of us for the finish. As we get towards the end, Bart does come up to me, and I'm able to move him right up to the front on the last lap and set him up really nice to get a good sprint finish. The green and yellow team in front of me is the Texas Roadhouse. They were some pretty nice guys. They were leading the series for the Masters Cup. They also do a team cup for the best placed team in all 3 of those races. And because of Bart's consistent placing and then my consistent placing in this race, we had leapfrogged into 2nd place. At the end, they mistakenly gave us the lead in the Masters Cup, but it was they made a mistake on the point tally, and we were actually in 2nd. And so Texas Roadhouse actually won, which was kind of a bummer because they didn't get to do the podium at the end of the day 4. As you can see, there's people in a lot of these houses. They come out in the front of their house to watch the race with lawn chairs and have barbecues and parties. There were beer hand-ups after the race. They do that a lot in Wisconsin as well, which is it's really fun to watch, to see the community get involved with the race like this. I usually like to move up on the outside to the right here. The wind was coming from our left shoulder, from left to right, crosswind. I couldn't catch the lap counter there. Usually everybody tried to move up on this downhill section, obviously, because it was really fast, and if it bunched up at the front a little bit, it was easy to move up. I like to move up on the uphill side because that's when everybody would start to slow down. So I'm a little bit too far back here. I'm going to start working my way back up towards the front because we're getting down to the pointy end of the race here. But just with the atmosphere and the crowds, this race was just really exciting. I think out of the 4, this was my favorite. So I believe we're going into Bell Lap here. Yeah, there's Bart. So he did make it up there, so I was like, okay, good. Bart's getting in a good spot. So I kind of slide in front of him here coming up. I tell him, let's go. So he says, alright, let's go. So I take him up the right-hand side of the field here. We got to move up because it's Bell Lap, so I'm going to take him all the way as far to the front as I can. And luckily the right-hand side was open for me here, which is nice. If I was a team doing a lead out, I would have stayed on the right-hand side and made people come around in the wind. But they left a gap for us, so we were able to move up. I know that once we make this left turn, then it's going to be full gas going up the hill, so I've got to get Bart as close to the front as I can. He's yelling at me to go. I'm just waiting for an opening. So now we're on the hillside, and That's Bart hollering in front of me. So, oh, the right side opens up, so I'm going to use that to my advantage and punch it and get Bart as close to the front as I can before we start the hill. I'm just waiting for these guys to sweep right and close the door on me, but it opens up and I'm able to slip through. So, alright, here we go towards the base of the hill. Bart's in a really good spot. All he needs to do is get to the top. He's going to follow this donkey label guy. There he goes. And I'm just going to keep my momentum going, digging deep to get over the top of this hill here. Gets a little sketchy going through this turn, so you got to make sure that you don't get pinched. And of course these guys start to let gaps open, so I've got to go around them, which isn't optimal for my sprint, but that's okay. I know that there's no 50 plus guys in front of me. These are all 40 plus. I kind of knew the 50 plus guys that I had to watch out for, so I'm just going to sprint as fast as I can here. Really isn't much of a sprint, really, because you're going downhill, so you're just kind of keeping your legs going. So we're doing 37 miles an hour, 38, 39, and there's the finish. And I ended up getting third. So Scott Montanga wins, Bart gets second, and I get third. That's day 3. That's a wrap. That was a fun one. I'll see you in the next one.